Get over to Shannon.
All right. Thank you very much, Brett. Our conversations with the candidates continue as the race for the governor's office moves along. Joining us this morning live from our Beacon Hill studio is Juliette Kayyem, former columnist for the Boston Globe and former Department of Homeland Security's Assistant Secretary for Intergovernmental Affairs. Did I get it all in there?
Yes, you did. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for being with us. I was just looking at your Twitter feed this morning, and I want to make sure I have this right. You just tweeted, "Note to self, do not plan early morning segment on Fox 25 News during postseason, #Red Sox." Did you stay up to watch it?
Yes, I did, and thank goodness there's a Dunkin' Donuts right next door. But you know, it didn't seem that early until last night. But it was a fantastic game, and you know, it was a good day yesterday in front of the TV.
Worth being tired for after the Patriots win and the Red Sox win. I happened to notice while I was on there, your Twitter bio says Democratic candidate for governor of Massachusetts, public servant, teacher, writer, 3 kids, cool hubby, we're ready. That says it in a nutshell, but really you have quite a few accomplishments in your other endeavors. So what made you decide to run for governor?
Well, I've served in government for most of my life, although a lot of people know me from the Boston Globe column. I served for this governor as his Homeland Security advisor overseeing public safety agencies, and then for the president essentially overseeing 50 states and their Homeland Security efforts. But Homeland Security isn't just defense. It is, although I do that, right, crisis and crisis management, which are key roles of a governor or a mayor or a leader, but also offense and sort of driving investments, regional planning to support our cities and towns, to support public safety, to support industries and technology and infrastructure. So I've done both. Entering the political fray is different and probably unanticipated if you look at the rest of my history. But for me, you know, Massachusetts, like Boston, is changing. There's a desire for new leadership. There's a desire for people who have dealt in complex organizations to bring people together. And so I went in, and a lot of people are gaming the system, but all I can do is you know, say what I have to say, talk about my platform about preparedness, and move forward into 2014.
Because we have seen a lot of you in the Homeland Security role, how do you sort of break out of that and show people sort of what qualifies you better than the other candidates to be governor?
Well, it's a great question, and so part of it is I don't. I mean, public safety and security and preparedness are a key issue for any governor, any state government. They are what people expect of government. They want it to work, as I say, when it matters the most, as we've seen both in the city and throughout the state. And I've worked with a lot of different disciplines to do that. So H1N1 in terms of public health, right? So oil spill in the Gulf in terms of energy and energy investments. But what's key for me to get out there is also the extent to which Homeland Security is really about the homeland. It is about making us stronger. And so it is about the investments in regional planning, in job creation, in the industries that are here and are going to stay here. It is about integrating the great things happening out in the West, in Springfield and Worcester, and linking them together through infrastructure investments. And it's about big national policies like comprehensive immigration reform, which matter to this state.
Well, let me ask you this, because it sort of crosses you over into being a gubernatorial candidate and also talking about Homeland Security. Right. You were recently quoted as saying, with regards to the death penalty in Jahar Tsarnaev, that you would not advocate for putting him to death. Has that been received well, not well?
I mean, I think the state is where it ought to be, which is we don't have the death penalty. I've never been a proponent of the death penalty. One part of my career was that I was a civil rights attorney many years ago. I am an advocate for access and for fairness. Anyone who's been in that system knows that it has sort of rampant flaws. We know that. The Supreme Court has said that. But for me, it is it's just a moral issue about who we are as a society in terms of just what we want to reflect to ourselves and to the outside world. He'll be in jail if found guilty for the rest of his life, and that's enough for this great state. I mean, you know, we did well in terms of the Boston Marathon response. We stayed together. We didn't blame anyone. We didn't blame any communities, and that is something that I want to reflect in terms of what I say about his sentencing.
Before we let you go this morning, you are starting to get your name out there, but you're running against some pretty well-known and well-funded Democrats, Attorney General Martha Coakley and Treasurer Steve Grossman. How do you compete against that?
Well, I have 2 plans. One is fundraising, which I've done incredibly well on in my first 6 or 7 weeks. I think that just reflects the desire of the party to have other voices, new leadership, a generational shift, which I represent. And then, as anyone, you know, this is now tactics, but we have a caucus system. And between February and March, I'll be building delegates to get the 15% through the convention. mentioned, it's not rocket science. And, you know, the truth is all I can see is what happens. And push forward and get this message of new leadership, a generational shift in Massachusetts out to the delegates and the advocates in the party. But I'll tell you, the party's not, it's not clear who will advance, and so that's why it's an exciting race.
All right, Juliette Kayyem, candidate for governor. We appreciate you being with us this morning. And of course, we continue to speak with the announced candidates for governor. We've invited all of them on our morning news. You can look for more interviews coming up later this week. We got to take a break here on the Fox 25 Morning News. We'll be back.